Imagine standing at the edge of a crater. The rock beneath your feet is burning hot. The ground temperature reaches 70 degrees. The air is heavy, thick with sulfur. No living creature around you, no insect, no blade of grass, not even a single bacterium. Complete, absolute sterility. Now look down. Do you see those melted rocks? According to geologists, they are 5,000 years old. But to melt this metal, you need a temperature above 1,500 degrees. Where did such heat come from, when no eruption has ever been recorded in this area? A mystery without an answer. Welcome to Iran. Not the one that flashes across the news, not the land of carpets and minarets, a different Iran, the one buried beneath layers of earth. 7,000 years of unbroken civilization, and that is not a slip of the tongue or an exaggeration. 7 millennia, longer than Egypt, longer than Sumer, longer than any culture you were taught about in school. And here is what is truly astonishing. Almost no one talks about Iranian discoveries. Since 1979, when the monarchy fell and the borders slammed shut before foreign scientists, Western archaeological missions have been barred from entry. French expeditions from the Louvre, which had been excavating here since the 1930s, were forced to leave in a hurry, abandoning thousands of untouched cultural layers. The artifacts found here are now scattered across museums worldwide, from Tehran to Paris, but no one holds the complete picture. Iran is not simply a country. It is a sealed archive. And today we will open 6 of its seals, one by one. Our journey begins in the north, where the Alborz mountain range pushes straight up into the sky. A few hours from Tehran rises Damavand, 5,610 meters above sea level. It is the highest peak in the entire Middle East and the largest solitary volcanic cone in Asia. Its silhouette is visible from hundreds of kilometers away, nearly perfectly symmetrical, as if sculpted by hand. Officially, Damavand is classified as a dormant volcano, not a single confirmed eruption throughout recorded history. But there is a catch: the mountain still breathes. From the fumaroles near the summit, sulfur and hot gases continue to escape. At its base, in the village of Larijan, thermal springs flow at 65 to 70 degrees. The smell of hydrogen sulfide is so sharp that you cannot bring your face close to the water. Inside the 400-meter crater, a small lake still survives, and in cold months a mist rises above it. Local shepherds swear they see smoke above the summit at night. Scientists call it gas venting. The shepherds simply shake their heads. No, that is breathing. Who's breathing? The answer can be found in the Persian epic Shahnameh, written by the poet Ferdowsi 1,000 years ago. It tells of Zahak, a 3-headed serpent, a monster from whose shoulders 2 black snakes grew after the devil's kiss. For 1,000 years, Zahak ruled over Iran, demanding 2 young men every single day so his snakes could feed on human brains. A blacksmith named Kaveh raised a rebellion, and the hero Faradin defeated the dragon in battle. But the heavens forbade his killing, so Zahak was chained deep inside the mountain. The foul smoke, the legend says, has been rising from within ever since. A beautiful story, nothing more, you might think. But instruments have detected a still hot magmatic body beneath Damavand that has never fully cooled. On the 6th of July, 2007, fumaroles near the crater ejected sulfur with enough force to register on seismological stations at considerable distances. Volcanologists acknowledge it. Damavand is potentially active. It has not died, it is waiting. For what exactly, science is in no hurry to say. But a mountain whose depths, according to ancient legend, hold a chained 3-headed dragon is hardly the place for a peaceful night's sleep. Now we travel 400 kilometers south, into the heart of the Iranian plateau, to the outskirts of the city of Kashan. Low clay mounds that locals simply call tepe, the Persian word for hill. One of them is Tepe Sialk, unremarkable earthen humps that a tourist would walk past without a second glance. Meanwhile, children play football just a few meters from skeletons that are 7,500 years old. In 1933, the French archaeologist Roman Gershman arrived here. What lay beneath these mounds forced a complete revision of the entire chronology of early civilizations. A cultural layer 14 meters deep contained 6 consecutive periods of unbroken settlement, from the Neolithic to the Bronze Age. The earliest strata date to 5,500 BC. Here they found painted pottery unlike anything seen elsewhere. A wall of 13 courses of mud brick standing 170 centimeters tall, one of the oldest architectural remains on Iranian soil, and 2 ziggurats, stepped temple towers built around 3,000 years before Christ. This is one of only 4 known Elamite ziggurats. The other 3 stand in the province of Khuzestan. But what is most astonishing is not the age and not the pottery. In the cultural layers of Tepe Sialk, archaeologists found obsidian, volcanic glass sharper than a surgical scalpel. The problem? The nearest obsidian source is in Anatolia, in present-day Turkey, more than 2,000 kilometers away as the crow flies, across mountain ranges and deserts, in an era when roads and wheeled transport did not yet exist. Who carried this stone here? For what purpose? What trade network could have been operating 7,000 years ago, 3 millennia before the earliest known trade routes in history? Archaeologists uncovered an entire metalworkers' quarter at Sialk. Copper was already being worked at the Sialk II level. Pottery paintings depict serpents, bulls, leopards, human figures. The potter's wheel appears in the 4th phase of the 3rd period, around 3,500 BC. The artifacts are now scattered across the world, some in the National Museum of Iran, some in the Louvre, some in the Metropolitan Museum in New York. No one holds the full picture. Perhaps that is precisely why Tepe Sialk remains one of the most underestimated archaeological mysteries on Earth. 7 millennia of civilization buried beneath the hills of an ordinary suburb, while children kick a ball above bones older than the Egyptian pyramids. Our next stop takes us deeper into the desert, to the outskirts of Yazd, the center of Zoroastrianism. 15 kilometers to the southeast of the city, on 2 neighboring hills, stand structures that send a chill down the spine even of seasoned travelers. The Towers of Silence, the Dakmas. Picture a round stone tower without a roof, about 6 meters tall, walls of brick laid perfectly in a circle. Inside, a flat platform divided into 3 concentric rings. The outer ring for men, the middle ring for women, the inner ring for children. At the very center, a deep well. No staircase leads up to the tower. The only way in was a removable ladder, taken away immediately after every visit. Zoroastrians believed that a dead body was contaminated and could not be given to either earth or fire, the 2 sacred elements. Only one path remained, to give the body to the sky. The deceased were laid out on the platform, and vultures disposed of the remains within 20 to 30 minutes. The stripped bones were then dropped into the central well, where they gradually dissolved. Unsettling without question. But what strikes most is not the ritual itself. It is the geometry of these structures. The circular form, the concentric rings, the precise orientation to the cardinal directions, proportions suspiciously close to the golden ratio. Zoroastrianism emerged in the 6th and 7th centuries BC, and Herodotus left the earliest written description of its burial rites in the 5th century BC. Archaeologists find ossuaries, bone containers, from the same period. But the towers themselves in their stone form as we know them today appeared considerably later, presumably in the Sasanian era, between the 2nd and 7th centuries AD. Now we go underground. The city of Nushabad, Aranva Bidgol district, Isfahan province. Beneath the streets of this small Iranian town, at a depth of 4 to 18 meters below the surface, lies Uwe, a subterranean city whose full extent has not yet been mapped. The tunnels were discovered accidentally in 2000, when a local resident broke through the floor of his home during repairs. Excavations that followed revealed a network of passages 3 to 4 meters in width, with ceilings high enough for a person to stand upright. The system includes rest areas, water storage chambers, and most remarkably, a fully functioning ventilation system. Narrow shafts, angled and calculated, drew in fresh air at one end and expelled stale air at the other. No mechanical parts, no electricity. Just geometry and an understanding of airflow that modern engineers continue to study. Was built during the Sasanian period, between the 3rd and 7th centuries AD, though some researchers believe the earliest tunnels are significantly older. The city was used as a refuge during invasions. When armies appeared on the surface, thousands of people could vanish underground within minutes, taking food, water, and livestock with them. The ventilation allowed them to remain below for weeks. The system operated for 1,500 years without a single replacement part. Today, around 500 meters of tunnels have been excavated and opened to visitors. The full network, archaeologists estimate, may extend for several kilometers beneath the town. Most of it remains unexcavated. What else lies down there no one yet knows. From underground we rise to the surface, the hottest surface on Earth. Kerman Province, southeastern Iran, the Dasht-e-Lut Desert. In 2005, NASA satellites recorded a ground temperature of 70.7 degrees here, an absolute record in the history of observation. Later, specialists from the American Meteorological Society stated that the real maximum could reach 80 degrees, hotter than boiling tea on your table, a temperature at which a flatbread left on a stone simply burns. Dasht-e-Lut, a waterless expanse 480 kilometers long, 320 kilometers wide, covering approximately 52,000 square kilometers, the size of a small European country. In its central zone lies Gandom Beryan, meaning scorched wheat, around 500 square kilometers of absolute sterility, where not even bacteria survive. This is the only place on Earth entirely devoid of biological life. The surface is covered in dark basalt gravel that absorbs sunlight like a sponge. Surrounding mountains block the wind, the air barely moves, and heat accumulates here as in an oven. But Dasht-e-Lut is not only heat. Here you find yardangs, enormous rock ridges carved by wind, up to 80 meters high, sand dunes among the tallest on the planet, salt flats and karst sinkholes, and remarkably, along the desert's edges, when the temperature drops at night, wolves roam. Iranian director Rohala Khoshkhoui became the first person to walk through the central zone of the Lut with a thermometer in hand. His conclusion: exposed skin begins to burn within 2 minutes. Rocks cannot be held with bare hands, and the pressure in your ears rises to the threshold of pain. 8 kilometers offshore, in the Strait of Hormuz, the scene is the complete opposite. Hormuz Island, 42 square kilometers of geological chaos. It is called the Rainbow Island, and that is no metaphor. The local soil contains up to 80 distinct shades: red, orange, violet, pink, yellow, silver, black. The hills look as though a mad painter worked across them. Here you find Rainbow Valley, Red Beach, Salt Mountain, the Cave of the Salt Goddess, Crystal Caves, all of volcanic origin, with the island's highest point at 186 meters. In 2008, one of the world's largest soil carpets was created on the island, around 1,000 square meters of earth in 70 shades. The red soil, called gilak, is still used by locals as a food seasoning today. When rain falls, the streams running down the hillsides turn deep red, like blood. Marco Polo visited in 1290 and wrote that the heat here was unbearable, the sun merciless. Afanasi Nikitin confirmed it in 1475. A man could literally be scorched here. Geologists explain the palette by an abundance of mineral compounds: iron oxide, sulfur, copper. Volcanic activity millions of years ago brought almost the entire periodic table to the surface. But the local residents have their own version. They say this is land burned by some kind of celestial weapon. Which weapon exactly, there is no answer. And the geological traces do indeed resemble the result of rock fusion. Science explains everything, but on an island where the soil comes in 80 colors and the rain runs red, Even the scientific explanation sounds suspiciously neat. And the final stop, the most unsettling of all. Western Iran, the Zagros Mountains, Loristan province. On bare rocky slopes, archaeologists have found petroglyphs estimated to be between 4,000 and 40,000 years old. 40 millennia, older than the cave paintings of Altamira, older than any known rock art in Europe. Iranian archaeologist Mohammad Nasserifard discovered a major cluster of petroglyphs in the Khomein district in central Iran. The images were made with ochre and black pigment, carved with stone and bone tools. Across Iran as a whole, more than 50,000 such images have been found. 88% depict goats and rams, hunting scenes, human figures with bows, abstract symbols. Some paintings contain pictograms believed to have later formed the basis of Elamite script, one of the oldest writing systems in the history of humanity. But it was not the goats that caught researchers' attention. In the Teymareh area, same Khomein district, they found an image of a six-legged creature, 14 centimeters tall, half human, half insect. Entomologists identified it most likely as a praying mantis. But this is a mantis with human features, holding objects that resemble round discs. Nasserifard put forward a hypothesis that sparked fierce debate. The rock art of Iran bears a striking resemblance to petroglyphs found in South America and California. Same subjects, same style, separated by tens of thousands of kilometers. Coincidence? Parallel development of artistic thought? Or evidence of contact that official history categorically denies? There are also figures here that fit no category at all. Humanoid silhouettes with disproportionately large heads, in garments resembling nothing from any known ancient wardrobe. UFO researchers say spacesuits. Archaeologists say ritual masks. Who is right remains unknown. But one thing is certain. 10,000 years ago, someone felt it necessary to carve these figures into stone. Not for beauty. There was no one in the Zagros Mountains to admire art. Which means it was done for memory, for warning, or as a message to those who would come later. That is, to us. 6 stops, 6 epochs. What connects them all? Damavand, a volcano officially classified as dormant, yet still breathing sulfur, and holding, if you believe a 1,000-year-old epic, a 3-headed dragon in chains. Tepe Sialk, a settlement 3,000 years older than the Egyptian pyramids, with obsidian carried here from 2,000 kilometers away by unknown means. The Towers of Silence, structures with geometry that seemingly should not have existed in the 6th century BC. Nushabad, a subterranean city with ventilation that operated for 1,500 years without a single mechanical part. Dashti Lut and Hormuz, a desert where the earth melts, and an island whose soil comes in 80 shades. The Zagros petroglyphs, drawings up to 40,000 years old, depicting figures that resemble neither humans nor animals. All of these places lie within the borders of a single country, a country that archaeologists have barely been permitted to enter for half a century, a country whose discoveries are capable of rewriting history textbooks, but appear in them only in small print, if at all. What if Iran is not simply a country on a map, but a kind of laboratory, a testing ground of a civilization that knew far more than we are taught to believe? Why was access here restricted? What else lies beneath these sands, these hills, these volcanoes? Damavand, Tepe Sialk, the Towers of Silence, Nushabad, Dashti Lut, the Zagros petroglyphs. 6 points on a map that seemingly should not belong together, yet here they are. And they are waiting. Perhaps the answers lie not in the past, but in the future, when science finally gains access to everything the Iranian earth conceals. Or perhaps the answers were found long ago, and that is precisely why they are being hidden. What do you think? Write in the comments which of these 6 places struck you most. Leave a like if you found something new today. It helps the channel. And subscribe so you don't miss our next journey. We are going to a country where a city 12,000 years old was discovered, and it still stands right where it was built.